Thank you everybody for joining us on that peace walk. We've finished up our peace walk quite deliberately at a very, very special place, and I'm going to have somebody who is very, very connected to this place both welcome us and also to share a little bit about the place that we're at the moment and its significance to today in terms of peace and in terms of reconciliation. Before I do that though, I just wanted to acknowledge one of our peace partners who isn't with us today, and his name is Dr. Chintamani Yogi. And the reason that Dr. Yogi isn't with us today is because he is from Nepal, and he is over in Nepal at the moment working tirelessly to support his country people who have been through the tragic earthquakes over recent times. So I just wanted to acknowledge Dr. Yogi and thank him for all the wonderful work he's doing for our fellow human beings over in Nepal. I'm going to hand you over to Bonnie first, to Bonnie and to Margaret Brodie. And Margaret Brodie is the great-great-granddaughter of Latalari, who this park is named after. And Bonnie and Margaret will share a few words about the significance of this place. Thank you.
Namani, Nai Nari Bonnie Brodie, Nai Wakandi, Namani Nabudni Ganamiyana. Hello everyone, my name is Bonnie Brodie and I'm Margaret's niece, and we both welcome you here on Latalari today and on Gunner land. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'd like to say welcome. My mum was Veronica Brodie. She strived very hard for a cultural centre or an education centre to go up here on this lot. Her plans weren't saw through and we didn't get the cultural centre, and then she looked at an old folk centre. I don't know whether she knew she was sick, but that was her dream. Because the land was contaminated, because the sugar refinery stood to our right, the car park was to the left. The land was contaminated with brown sugar residue, so they wasn't going to build on it, and the sugar refinery was responsible to clean the grounds up. Me as a little girl, we used to live down the road. The sugar refinery was up. We used to run through the car park here because we knew there was a ladder down on the wharf, and we'd jump off the jetty and jump off the wharf and then climb back up the ladder. And forever and a day we had the men from the sugar refinery screaming at us and telling us to get off their land and get out of the car park. The year my mum told her story about her grandmother's burial place, it was the same year the sugar refinery burnt down. And then my mum started research with it. She told her story to a lawyer. The lawyer then took an anthropologist to come through and research the ground and found the evidence there that this was a birthplace. Since then, Mum spoke to designer with council and LMC, which is Land Management Corporation. And at the end of it all, she settled for a 75-metre parkland. The unfortunate thing is Mum didn't get to see it because she passed away 12 months before. So, yeah. Latalari gave birth here to one of her daughters. They then moved, I think the patron at the Glanville Hotel moved them on about 1870. And they fringe dwelled all the way to Glenelg, where my nana was born at Collie Reserve. And then from then on they made their way to, you've all heard of the Coorong, we call it Rauk, and it's Point Macleay. And that's where they grew up, and my nana married there and had her children and lived there. What else? The parkland is for educational purposes. I mean, sometimes I think the money could have been spent better. Mum strived hard to do it for her people, for her family, and recognition for Latalari. Latalari, I think, constitutional. The referendum, Latalari was one of the first to put her hand up to vote for women's votes. We're still finding out stories about her. We don't know where she eventually came from to end up here on this land. But she adopted the name Glanville as well, so she was known as, her daughter was named Flora Glanville. Some of the boxes inside the park, the patterns on the walkway represent the basket weaving. we have one, what do I call them, those domes. One of them's got, she tried to represent all the crustaceans, all the food resources down here. We've still been told we haven't eaten an egg till we eat a swan's egg. I'm not that game to try one. Mum spoke at the place with abundance with swans, black swans. She also put swan's feet into one of the other domes. There's her very own basket weaving in one of them as well. And the actual shelter is represented by a waddly or a whirly, which is a shelter, and that's where she lived and that's where she gave birth. The boxes are, we had a local artist come down from Goolwa. He mosaicked the story onto the boxes. It starts off with like the mangroves and the campfires from down here. It goes to a story where Adelaide was known for working with Captain Hart and his wife. She was a domestic slave. He looked after her well. A funny little story, because the bridge hadn't always been here, there was a floating pontoon. One day his wife was expecting a tea party and all her guests got stuck on the floating pontoon because a boat was coming through, so they had to turn it sideways to let the boat go through. Colonel Light came this way on a boat. He couldn't see when he came down the harbour. Ladalari apparently leaped over the wharf, swam to the boat, they pulled her in and she led the boat into the wharf for them. To elaborate on the story a bit more, some of the plants around here are for medicinal purposes as well as edible. We've tried to create it so that it looked like when she lived here. The grandchildren have all been down here. We've helped come down and plant a lot of the plants that are in the place. And it's now a public park and open to the public. So today we'd like to share it with all of you. For reconciliation, I think reconciliation has a different meaning for everybody. I did a school up at Tornish Primary School and it was a reconciliation banner. I had two little boys come out and paint army tanks on the banner, and the teacher told them to take it off, and I said that's it, their interpretation of reconciliation, because at the time the war was starting in Afghanistan. So I think we all interpret reconciliation in our own way. I think it's about coming together, we all reconciling with each other. Black, white, brindle, yeah. So I'd like to say enjoy the park today and share the story. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that story with us, Margaret. Margaret had invited us to share the park. I know that Alberton Primary School came through as a whole school to visit the park last year, so many of you who were here at the school last year will have seen the park again, but it'll be a great opportunity to reflect on it, particularly hearing directly from Auntie Veronica's daughter. But perhaps we could invite non-Alberton Primary School people to have a first look through, and then Alberton to go through in an orderly fashion, perhaps one group at a time. So I do want to again reiterate what Margaret had said and welcome you all through the park to go through there. The other thing that Margaret hadn't mentioned that I think is a lovely symbol in terms of the park is the beams that you'll see in solid rock for Auntie Veronica, and she was certainly a solid rock for Aboriginal rights throughout the region. Something else that I just wanted to mention about Auntie Veronica as well is we've been talking, for those of you who weren't here for the book launch that we did before this walk, we were talking about stories and talking about different ways to express those stories as well. And Auntie Veronica was a very, very strong advocate for developing Indigenous music and responsible for setting up choirs and other programs to support music, which again is a wonderful way of telling story. So it's been a lovely connectivity, and I guess for me, reconciliation has a very strong message of connectivity, and it's wonderful to see everybody here today. Thank you very, very much. I do want to acknowledge just a special thank you to Alberton Primary School, slightly biased in that respect, but it was wonderful to see them put the effort to bring the entire school down today as well. So thank you very much, everybody.